All right, so it's currently reading week for me at university, and this is basically 1 week that we get off in order to catch up on everything that we need to catch up on before exams come. So it's, we've had 2 months of coursework, and now we have 1 week in order to catch up and spend this time working so we can be ready for exams. And so in past reading weeks for me, I've always spent this time just studying, okay? I've always been using this time exactly how it was meant to be used, which was just to spend it all, get caught up on projects, get caught up on assignments, get caught up on my courses, studies, everything, okay? Everything so that I was ready for the next upcoming exam season. But what I honestly found was that this was always a very unenjoyable experience for me because it was just me like sitting in my basement for 12 hours a day, studying subjects that, some of them were entertaining and some of them weren't. And it overall just wasn't a very enjoyable experience. And so recently, I've been trying to switch up how I'm spending my time during these periods, right? And I've been trying to do more things, take advantage of this time that they give us, not just for school, okay? And here's the thing, there's always some resistance when I'm doing that, right? Because I think, I have all of this work to do, right? I have projects, I have assignments, I have, tests to study for in all of my classes, right? And you naturally feel like you want to spend this time studying so you can be, prepared for all this stuff and get all this stuff completed. But realistically, okay, what I found is that whether or not you plan to do other things in the reading week, whether or not I, decide to spend a day out with some friends, or whether or not I decide to go out for dinner or do all these things that I want to do during reading week, if I do those or if I don't do those, the actual work that I needed to get done got done either way. In past years when I spent all this time, all these hours, 12-hour days sitting in the basement, the work got done, of course, because I spent all that time, doing the work. But also in the recent years where I've spent far less time working and far more time, with friends, far more time training, going to the gym, getting outside, taking a day off, here or there to breathe. Even in these situations, the work got done anyways. All the work that I needed to get done got done, whether or not I spent the whole week studying 12 hours every single day, or whether, I studied 2 hours every day and then spent some time in the gym, spent some time with friends, took a day off. Either way, the work was completed, okay? And that's because when you force time constraints on yourself, okay, you're going to naturally find a way to get that work done, right? Let's take the situation where you're going to have a 12-hour day of work ahead of you, okay? If you sit in the basement, for 12 hours in a day, not all of that work is going to be good work. The first couple hours in the morning, that's going to be good work, right? Because you're waking up, you're refreshed, you got that energy. But then, once you're 4, 5, 6 hours into it, like, you can't expect the 6th hour of studying in your basement to be as effective as the first. And you definitely can't expect the 10th, the 11th, the 12th hour of studying in your basement to be as effective as the first, okay? And so there's a depletion of how these hours are, okay? The hours you spend working, the more hours you spend, those hours become less and less effective as you go on, okay? And so when you place this 12-hour day ahead of you, yes, maybe you get more work done than a 4-hour day, okay? But it's nowhere near as much, okay? It's not 3 times as much. That's for certain, okay? And so this is the idea that I want you to adopt, is that it's okay. It's good to take these breaks, okay? It's necessary to take these breaks, okay? Because you can't accomplish 12 hours of work in 12 hours, okay? Your focus is going to deplete. You're going to have this dispersed focus instead of this intense focus, okay? And so if you instead compress your work to shorter periods of time, okay? Whether that's through, scheduling other things during your week, having this dinner that you have in the evening. So now you got to get the work done earlier, okay? Or maybe you're taking a whole day off, which means that today you need to really grind. You need to get this work done, okay? By forcing these constraints on yourself, by compressing the timeline that you're going to work, you're forcing yourself to work in a shorter period of time. You're going to need to, study more intensely, focus more intensely. And by putting that constraint on yourself, you're going to naturally do that, okay? And so, you have all this work to do during the reading week, okay? You have all this work to do during your normal week at school, okay? Yes, you can say, okay, my to-do list is, forever long. I'm just going to study and I'm just going to study and I'm just going to study, okay? But if that's what you do, then for the full term of school, you're going to do nothing but study because there's always more work to do. There's always going to be another thing on the to-do list, another, project that you can get started on. There's always going to be that, okay? And so, if you instead say, hey, I know that studying 12 hours isn't going to be that effective. I know it's not that smart, okay? I know that I'm probably not going to enjoy it if I lock myself in my room for 12 hours, okay? That can be good, here or there. I'm going to really sit down and grind out this day, okay? That's fine. But generally, it's not an enjoyable experience. It's not how you're meant to live. Another example is that, last year I was starting to train Muay Thai and I was trying to start running more, okay? And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, my workload is already pretty packed. Like I'm full in terms of workload, okay? I don't really have too much more time to work. But I wanted to start running. I wanted to start training Muay Thai. And so I did. And what do you think happened, okay? Nothing, okay? The amount of work that I did, okay, it just naturally compressed to the tighter timeline that I had. Yes, I needed to focus more intensely when I was working. Yes, I needed to work harder when I was working, but the work got done and my grades were as good as ever, okay? And so it's just understanding that you can introduce these things into your life. It's not gonna kill you if you go hit a workout with a friend. It's not gonna kill you if you go off for dinner, if you spend the evening, not working. It really isn't, okay? The work will get done, okay? And that's assuming that you're, on the spectrum of working too much and not working too little. If you're a person who, struggles to sit down and work and really spends more of the time not working, okay, then this video isn't for you, okay? But this is for the people who are constantly working, okay? Constantly working, feeling like they never have the time to spend it on other things, on other, hobbies or exercise or spending time with friends or any of these things, okay? The work will get done to fill the compressed timeline, okay? And so as one last example to that, it was just a couple days ago actually, and I'd spent the whole morning and started the afternoon working, okay? I was sitting downstairs, I was, working, it was good. And then, 2, 3 p.m. comes along and it's like, my brain really slows down. And I'm thinking to myself at this point, this really just doesn't feel good. I don't like work, all this stuff, all these negative emotions towards the work, okay? So I decide, okay, I'm going to the gym, okay? And I go to the gym and I hit my workout and I come home and all of a sudden I'm feeling good and I'm feeling like, okay, I can get back to work now, okay? And so if I hadn't had that thought, if I'm just like, okay, no, I'm going to push through this work, I'm going to sit through this work, push through the whole evening, okay? I would not have gotten any more effective work done that day, okay? It was 3 p.m., I was tired, I could have pushed through the work, I could have done it, okay? But that work wouldn't have been effective. I wouldn't have produced any good output, right? So instead, I went to the gym, I took this time off of work, okay, to go and live and come back to work. And then by doing so, I came back more energized and I was able to now focus more intently in that evening and actually produce something of value, okay? But I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have produced that value unless I took that time away, okay? And so, this is another example showing that if you take the time to do other things, okay, naturally the work will get done. And in this example of me going to the gym, not only did the work get done, okay, more work got done because I took that step away, okay? If I hadn't have taken that step away to the gym, I would not have come home and completed, the same amount of work. I would not have come back and produced the same amount of output as I did. So that's it. It's a quick video. I want you to take home that idea that you have the ability to choose to do these things that you want to do, okay? And naturally, the work that you have to get done will get done. It will compress down and you'll be able to get it done in the time that you have, okay? So that's it. Thank you for watching.